Okay, so the Dead Space remake came out. What do I think of it? Well, I think to begin, this sets the gold standard of video game remakes. This is a very good game after watching reviews from other creators like SkillUp and Gameranx. Their channels will be in the description, go check them out, as they are quite amazing. I found that a lot of my thoughts on this game correlated with them. I think that this is a top-notch game, and it lives up to what I wanted from the Callisto Protocol a couple months ago. This is the experience that I wanted. Before I get too far into it, I want to say that I'd never played the original trilogy. This was my first true Dead Space experience, and I must say, I'm quite impressed. The graphics are stunning. I play on PS5, and the frame rates are solid. I have no technical problems with this game. No crashes, performance was excellent, even with plenty of enemies on the screen. Load times were a little slow, especially after dying. Seeing as I am on PS5 and this is a PS5 game, I kind of figured the load times would have been a little bit shorter. However, it's not that big of a deal, about 10 to 15 seconds per death. Alright, with gameplay, I was really worried about playing this. I still lie awake at night thinking about the Callisto Protocol's combat and the horror that game put me through. With combat gameplay. Not the actual game. I went into Dead Space worried, but after 15 minutes my fears were snuffed out completely. It was clear to me that this was going to be a different experience entirely. I see Callisto with a combat loop of dodging left, and dodging right, and dodging left, and dodging right, and then you get to hit with your baton for a 1-2 combo, and then it was back to dodging left, dodging right, dodging left, dodging right. It made for a cinematic feel. It was awful, because the dodging was dodgy at best, and downright broken at worst. You had to fight the camera, and it never worked. And I mean, never worked, with multiple enemies on screen. Here, in Dead Space, this is a more ranged experience, not a hand-to-hand battle. The dodges come from you just narrowly running past the enemy's attacks, getting out of range, and focusing on taking off enemy limbs. It's quite genius, rather than the cinematic of Callisto. You're actually in control. In shooting games, these enemies don't really do anything. You can blow off their heads, and they'll just keep coming. You need to take off the legs, then the arms, and then they die. Conversely, you can just blind fire into any part of them, and they will eventually die, but it's going to take a lot more ammunition. I will say, Dead Space is quite generous with the ammo that it gives you. Sometimes I find myself running out. The weapons are fully built around the system of dismemberment. The starting pistol, I'll pull it up. It's right here. See, so it has two firing modes, vertical or horizontal, and depending on what angle, you'll net more hits on appendages, like their arms or their legs. It's genius, and it turns this game into your generic zombie shooter into a more slow and methodical shooter where you need to take your time and be surgical with your weapons. Now, the grip glove. This was a big problem for me in Callisto. See, similar to Callisto, there's a glove that you find early in the game that can be fired on to slow down time on enemies or objects, like this, holding triangle and holding L2. Or you can pull them into you to be used as firing at other enemies, or it can be used in puzzles, like this thing right over here, right? See, I found this, like, useless in Callisto. Like, I never used it the whole time, but I did use it a lot here. I find the usage of it in puzzles here to be leagues ahead of Callisto, as I can only recall maybe 2 or 3 times where the game had puzzles involving the glove, and I feel like because of that I honestly forgot that I even had it. Whereas here, I'm forced to use it throughout the game, and it reminds me that I have it as a tool. It's really clever, honestly. Now, this is where I'm gonna get a little heated. The health system. This really bugged me. So, I think healing is much easier than Callisto, because in that game, I could binge a season of a show, eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and have a nap before the animation finished. So I like how you can heal on the fly with a double tap of the circle button. Issues arise with a few things. There are small, medium, and large health packs. You can't choose which health you use unless you go into your inventory, right? I don't have a health pack on me, but you'd have to go, say, this oxygen pack, and then press use on a small, medium, or large. And see, that's basically just Callisto all over again, having to spend time in combat going into your inventory to pick what you want. And quick heal will just use anything, although I believe it picks the item you last picked up to the oldest, I think. This is quite frustrating. I mean, I might be near full health and want to quickly heal with a small health booster, and I end up using a large. These things aren't super common, and I found myself being in the red for health most of the time. Wasting a large health pack was not something I really wanted to do. I played this on the normal difficulty, and when you die, I don't know if this is how it is in the easy difficulty, but it definitely shouldn't be. You'd respawn at the place where you most recently saved, because there's these little save stations. Go check out the walkthrough. I make a very fun joke every time I see them. It's fine. What's not fine, however, is I spawn with the same level of health as when I had saved there. It's crazy to me, because there was a point where I was clearing out meteors from this room, right? And we're in zero gravity, and I was stuck for like 20 to 30 minutes in a death cycle because I had no health when I saved. And after clearing out those meteors, the game spawned like 10 to 15 enemies behind and in front of me. I was surrounded, and with the close-in camera angle, I was like spinning around like this. It was nuts. See, I nearly dropped the difficulty for this part just to proceed, but I did finally manage to get through. I had to spend like 10 minutes preparing with explosive barrels, and I mean, that's fine. It's good to have strategy in a game, but I don't know. It just seemed a little extra for me. Like, I'd rather just be full health, you know? I think that spawning would be fine in higher difficulties above normal, because that's where you're going for that like extremely difficult, challenging experience. But with how rare health packs are, I think dying and respawning with full health is at least half. Like, not the same as when you last saved. Like, give me something to where I'm not going to die in one hit. It just seemed unnecessary at normal, to be honest. Now, where we are right now, with zero gravity. This is fun. I like it. It's very disorienting. I'd find myself feeling sick from the movement, especially in the early game. I don't know if it was just me, but I struggled a lot through these sections. It's fun to blast these zombies while floating, right? But it's just difficult to pinpoint their locations in zero gravity, and with the strange audio design, which we'll get to later, there's also these timed oxygen points where you have a set amount of time to do something before your oxygen runs out. These are fine in concept, okay? However, there's often these little oxygen tanks where you can fully fill yourself up again. I think these are okay, because you might need extra time, but they should really only be used once, at least in like normal difficulty. I think easy difficulty you can do it as much as you want, but I found myself just kind of laughing at these sections because it was easy. Because there was no tension of running out of oxygen, because there's always these little green oxygen tanks around. Okay. This is another point where I'm going to get a little upset. But onto atmosphere and audio. So the atmosphere in this game is amazing. Like, the ship you're on, the Ishimura, is huge. With long and winding corridors leading to more shortcuts and easier runbacks. The lighting in this game is impeccable. It goes along with the art design being beautiful and magnificent and eerie and horrifying at the same time. It reminded me of Last of Us almost, with finding beauty in the most horrific areas. Like, I found myself, I think in one of the streams, I took my phone out and took a picture of this, like, the galaxy in front of me, because it was so gorgeous, man. However, there is one problem. The audio. I love the audio, don't get me wrong. There are, like, whispering around me in full 3D audio. That scared the crap out of me. Okay? Like, I was spinning around hearing clangs, like, in real life, thinking that there was somebody behind me. It freaked me out. The monster sounds were amazing. Hearing them, like, crawl around, it was expertly done. The problem is with the directional audio of them when they spawn. They sound amazing, but I would hear the monsters around me waiting for them to pounce, right? So I'd hear one, he'd sound like he's right there. But no, he'd, like, always spawn right behind me. And it had me checking to see if I had my headset on backwards. It baffled me. And I'd just wait for them to pounce from this direction, and they'd always be behind me. It was so frustrating. It led to jump scares, but they felt unearned, you know? Like, it wasn't a cinematic jump scare. It was just... it felt fake. It got to the point where I would hear the monster in front of me, like up here, and then I'd be like, oh, he's right behind me, so I'd just turn around and not even think he's there anymore. I don't know, it's just a little frustrating. I mean, here's the deal with Dead Space. I'm wrapping it up, and thinking over the time I spent, it's making me want to go back and just play through it all over again. Because I want to. I want to get that secret ending I heard about. I want to upgrade my weapons. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And despite the minor flaws like the audio and the health system, which, don't get me wrong, are very minor, you can figure out ways around them. It's really not that big of a deal. This truly is an experience I want everyone to feel. I fully recommend this remake. As someone who never played any of the Dead Space games, I'm honestly tempted to go into the catalog and give them a try. Like, this really got me hooked here, and it kinda almost fixed Callisto for me, if I'm being honest. I mean, considering number scores, because that's everything that people care about nowadays, I'd probably give this like an 8 out of 10, 8.5 maybe. Yeah, I mean, if they patch in the audio fixes and like make it so you can hot pick what health booster you want to use, this could easily be a 9 or even a 9.5. I don't think it would quite reach the 10. I know I'm not doing like story spoilers in here, but that is one of the things that kind of hold me back. I didn't really find myself caring. Even though I heard that Isaac never really talked in the original one, I still didn't, I really didn't care about the story. I just kept on moving forward, shooting things. But, yeah. That's a review, you fucking legends. Thank you all for watching. You're all amazing, and I appreciate every single one of you. Alright, I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.